Yo, what's going on? It's Kofi. I'm back with another episode of the WODCAST, WhyNotI podcast. Got a special guest with me, and I say that every time. This is my guy. Got Marcel Stevens, my guy. You telling me?
I'm alright, bro.
I'm trying to have him on here for a minute, you know. One of the first people that I met when I first got to Manchester, and it's just been good seeing a growth from like both sides. Like it's dope. So for the people that don't know about you, anyway, like how are you doing anyway? Like just before we start all that, like how you doing?
Everything's Gucci, bro. Honestly, like I'm in a good place right now.
Great place.
A fantastic place, to be fair. Work is working, you know what I'm saying? It's one of them, like, couple of years ago I had a plan. I just began to plant them seeds, and them seeds grew into plants, and then plants are now bearing fruit. And that's across everything that I do. So yeah, man, I'm just getting my grown man on now, you know what I'm saying?
I'd love to see it, bro. I'd love to see it. Because when we first met, was that Stefan's gym that wasn't even built yet? Do you remember, you know what I mean?
Real.
And it was like, I was still trying to do the modding thing. You were still doing track, but you modded a little bit, and like, it was just crossing paths, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's sick to see how well you're doing, especially now. So for the people that don't know you, who's Marcel Stevens?
Boy, Marcel Stevens is like 10 people rolled into one. First and foremost, I would always put track athlete first. Like, track and field saved my life. Majorly saved my life. Remember when I hit like 14 and you know, people were getting into certain things that, you know, it was a scary time, put it that way. And I turned up to my high school sports day, smoked a couple of people. I didn't do track at the time. I did basketball, believe it or not.
Swear up?
Yeah, I played ball, bro. I played for Magic then.
You see it?
Yeah, I used to play for Magic back in the day. And then the next day I had detention, and my teacher was like, "Oh, why are you eating sausage butties and da-da-da?" I'm like, "What do you mean? It's breakfast. I'm hungry. What's your problem?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Do you not do athletics? You're not an athlete?" I'm like, "No." So I get home that day. She's like, "I'm on the phone home." I'm like, No. Come on, just chill, man. I wasn't meaning to be cheeky. Like, what shut down? I'm phoning home. I get home. Mum's already sat there like, "So your teacher called." I'm like, what now? I'm thinking I'm gonna lose my PS2. GTA just came out. Now I'm gonna be like, it's long. And she was like, "No, the teacher actually sang your praises. She said that you smashed the sports day, and you completely blitzed past people that actually run track, and that you should. I need to get you down to the track, basically." And that massively like formed my identity, which kind of led on to the coaching side of things. That initially started off as just a favour to a friend whose younger brother, who both younger brothers played for City at the time in their youth team setup. And doing their pre-season with me, they went back, and their pre-season, like, one was a defender, one was a striker. Both of them were bagging goals, tearing it up. And he hit me back, and he was like, "Yo, you've got something that you should actually run with this." So bit by bit, I built that up into a reputable country. And now I've got clients that I've had from like youth ranks all the way to first team pros, absolutely bodying it. Like I feel like a proud dad when I say that. Aside from that, I DJ, and yeah, that was just another thing. Like, spinning, bro. Like, I remember being stood in a club one day with my friends and just thinking, "This is trash. I can do better than this." So at the time, I think I was like 20. I was still living at my mum's house. Like, I bought the shittest pair of decks ever. Set them up on my mum's ironing board and just taught myself how to DJ. Yeah, literally, bro. A year later, I was in clubs. Year after that, I did Park Life again. I've DJ'd abroad. I've DJ'd everywhere across the Northwest, Midlands. Like, it's gone well, man. Now I'm like, I'm there now.
Yeah, you're that DJ. As soon as I got to Manchester, when I met you, I was like DJ Marcel Stevens. Because that's how like people like know of you as well.
Yeah.
And obviously from going out, obviously you hear everyone talking what DJ's doing this, what DJ's doing that. And then I actually met you, but not in the music scene. It was just like on a random like a Tuesday evening.
Somewhere else.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like, "Oh, swear, you're my man." Oh, okay, cool. So obviously you was playing basketball when you first started and stuff. When you started doing track,
Yeah.
what made you shift from basketball to track? Did you want to do it, or was you just like, I'm fast? Or
You know what it is? I always liked basketball as a kid. Like my pops wanted me to play football, but I didn't like it, man. I was a soft kid. Like I don't want kids slide tackling me on the grass and it hurts and
playing in the rain.
It's cold, it's muddy. He hadn't actually taught me how to play football, so I'm just stood on a pitch, freezing. I was skinny as hell. Don't know the rules. These kids are sliding into it. I was just like, nah, mum, take me home. Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And then Space Jam came out, and I was like, yo, that looks lit.
Yeah, it's warm, it's inside,
Yeah.
it's fast, it's quick.
That looks lit. So started playing basketball. And it was one of them, like, I didn't really take it serious, to be honest. I just enjoyed the game. And then after a bit, it was one of them, like, I just didn't go back.
Yeah.
But I knew at the time my mum was getting worried. The 6 weeks holidays were coming up.
Keep busy.
Do you know what I mean? And when 6 weeks holidays come up, you don't want your kid running around in the park with his mates. You want him doing something structured.
Yeah.
And track, literally, sports day is always at the end of the curriculum year. That was that. Like, went down to the track one time, never left. Like, as soon as I got there, I was like, this is me.
Really?
Like, this is what I want to do. Like, I enjoy running, I enjoy pushing myself, I just enjoy smoking people. Like, I enjoy the gas, do you know what I mean? It's a challenge. And what I like about track as well, like team sports are great, but that feeling when you've got one guy on your team that's fucking up, like,
it's long, man. And out of your control.
So far out of my control. Whereas with track, if I lose, it's on me.
Yeah, a lot of people can't handle that though. It's too much pressure. Do you know what I mean?
It is, but the character building from that was major. So say if I did lose, it was a case of, right, okay, why did you lose? Did you do this? Have you done that? Do you need to work on this? Do you need to work on that? And then when you win, it's like, great, but what could I have done better? And also, why did you win? What can we improve on? What's your thing that we need to make sure is always A1? And for me, like, I've taken that same mentality into everything. Like, I'm not of the you know, it's the taking part that counts. Like,
nah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like that to me.
Everyone gets a medal.
Everyone gets a medal. That's loser talk. Like, I'm not in this in anything trying to just make up the numbers. Like, if I'm gonna do something, I want to be one of the best at it. Do you know what I mean? And I want to do it my way, in my style. Like, what may have worked for you, that's great. But you're not me.
Facts. Straight facts. So what do you run?
I run 100 and 200. My coach is trying to push me into 4s, but
4 is long.
Boy,
different style of running, 100%.
Completely different. The thing is, like, I understand his point. So for me, my start isn't always the greatest, but my pickup and ending,
200, 400.
Exactly. It makes sense. But with the 4, like, it's not, the 4 isn't like you can, you know, pace yourself and run a bit harder here and then ease off there. It's just a straight blast. And
the whole thing.
The whole way. Yeah, man, it's different. It's different kind of work. But for me, 1 and 2s, more so the 2s, definitely my thing. Definitely my thing.
So you started DJing, you said you was randomly just in a club at 20. What age did you start running?
I started running at 15, so as far as athletics goes, I actually started quite late. And when I started, it was just like, I'd just go to, like, the council used to run like 2 sessions a week, and I used to just go to them. And then one of the more serious coaches was like, listen, I want you to join my group, but we need you to try out. I need to see if you can actually run with what I've already got, like, in the group. Went down, did my thing, he was happy to take me on. Like 5 months later, gone to the North of England Championships, come second, broke the Great Manchester Schools record, and I'm sat there like,
I don't really run.
Yeah, I don't even. I train twice a week. Like, I mess about.
Yeah.
I'm here and I train hard, But
When
I'm
I'm-
not,
yeah.
when I'm here, but when I'm home, like I'm just banging PlayStation.
Yeah.
But it's not one of them. Like I just didn't know any better. Do you know what I mean? But then when you go into these meets and you're winning and you're setting records, then I was like, hold on, I must actually be really good at this. Like the time says so. Do you know what I mean? And from then on, that I was locked in. Like,
Do you think your mindset at that time, because a lot of individuals, when they don't work hard, or obviously you work hard, like you're doing 2 sessions a week, but then you're winning. Sometimes there's a switch there, and obviously at such a young age, especially at like 15, 16, you can rest on your laurels and be like, I guess I'm good, I don't need to work hard, I don't need to do more to be better.
I worked hard within the parameters that were set, so it was like a Monday, a Wednesday, then we went from like a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday, and I worked hard. But now, years on, if I knew now what I knew then, I wasn't doing a quarter of what I should have been doing. But you learn that with age, and you learn that with who's on your team, your coaches, fellow athletes, blah 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 blah. Now it's a completely different. What I would do in 3 days, now I do in 1.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And when I was like, I thought I worked hard before I went to America. And when I was in Birmingham, I was practicing 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday, and I'd mess around in the park.
Yeah.
I'd have my ball on the roll, dribbling, I'm thinking I'm putting in extra work. Get to America,
Different gravy.
and I'm doing 2-3 workouts in a day. That's what I was doing in a week. So obviously when you think about your counterparts and other people, the compound interest of just the amount of time they put in, it's gonna go like this compared to yours like this. Do you know what I mean?
In a crazy way. But I just feel like at grassroots level, a lot of people are unequipped with the correct information in order to help young budding sports people, and that's where we lack. And that's why if you look at college sports in the UK in comparison to the US, they are worlds apart. Like the collegiate system in US, it's not a joke. Like they are one step down from the NBA.
Yeah. Just in terms of like how we work out, like especially when you're in university, sports comes first. That's what they're paying you. You're just technically going to class, so you can still do your sport.
Exactly.
The way that they take it seriously. So you're doing 15 to 20. You do your track and field. You're getting better. Obviously your mindset's growing a little bit. You're taking it more seriously.
Yeah.
You're randomly in the club, and now you hear someone spinning. And you're just like, this is dead, I can do better than that. Where did that come from? Was you a music lover? Did you like being in a club? Hot boys?
So, you know what it was? My dad used to own a club in Manchester, and the club that he owned was like the club. Like it was the one that everyone was trying to get into, and if you couldn't get in, soz. So I had to like music whether I liked it or not, because it was getting played in the house. Like that was his job, putting on events and the club he owned. So I already kind of knew how to DJ, or I knew what it needed to sound like
for a club setting.
For a club setting, I just needed to work out how to physically do it.
Yeah.
But just by listening to it, it wasn't very hard for me to do that. And from then on, it was just, I feel like I've got a good ear and I know what is going to keep the dance floor moving. Do you know what I mean? And it just grew and grew and grew from there, to be quite honest. It was something that happened completely organically. I did it off of my own back. It was something that I never would have imagined that I would be doing, to be quite honest. It just happened, and I never would have thought it would have led me to the places that it has, and given me the opportunities that it has, and meet the people that I've met. But I'm forever grateful for having that talent and that experience, you know. I feel like being a DJ, it allows me to express myself creatively, and a lot of the time, it can be quite therapeutic. The same way for some people, painting is therapeutic, or reading or writing poetry. For some people, it's taking walks in a park. For me, it's music all day long. The same way it would be in other regards, track. Like you can be having an awful day, you go to training. By the time you get back, you're too tired to care. Like it's just not like you've worked out the stress. Let's move on.
Yeah.
You know.
So do you think, is it a type of love that even when, you know how some people only work out for something? So do you listen to music for pleasure as well as it being a job? Because you know when, it was kind of like with me in basketball, there was a time I used to play just for love. But now every time I touch a ball, it's a workout to try and get better because it's my career now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it depends.
Just enjoy music.
I enjoy all forms of music. So at the minute, I've been listening to like a lot of South American stuff, a lot of Hispanic stuff. Sonically, I just like how it sounds.
Yeah, feel good.
It feel good and it relaxes me. But then, Amapiano slaps.
Yeah, just
absolutely
good vibes. You know what I mean?
Slaps. It's an authentic sound. But ultimately, what you play in the club isn't necessarily what you're going to play in your car.
Yeah.
I feel like some of it isn't always my cup of tea, but I understand why it has to be played in the club. Some of it I've actually grown to enjoy. I used to hate Lil Baby.
Yeah.
Genuinely didn't understand it, didn't get it.
Yeah.
And one day, it was until fairly recently, I thought, you know what, let me actually just sit down
Take it in.
and take it in. And now I'm like, I get it.
Definitely helps with the job.
I get it. Yeah, massively helps with the job, because now I can understand why a third of the club want to hear a certain thing played in a certain way. And don't get me wrong, although I would have played it before, now I really get it. So the song that comes after that is only going to complement the one before, so on and so forth.
Yeah. I do get. So in terms of like networking, mixed with different people, working up and down the country, how have you found that because you said you've done it organically, so for some people, meeting new people and expressing yourself and introducing yourself and then kind of judging you or comparing you to other DJs or other people, how have you found that?
To be honest, for me, that's probably the most difficult part of my job. Contrary to popular belief, I'm an introvert.
Yeah, us that know you, we know we know that.
But everybody else that looks at me thinks otherwise until I open my mouth, and then they're like,
it's quite quiet.
Oh, he is completely different to what I thought he was going to be. So for me, like I've worked on myself a lot to be able to approach people, speak my mind, say what I need to say, network. I've always been able to carry a conversation. I'm not mute, but I'm not necessarily the person that's going to be bouncing off the walls. It's just not me, to be quite honest. I'm sooner the person that'll sit back and observe, and then once they feel comfortable, then they'll get involved. But over time, I've gotten better at it, and it's a major part of you know, it should be a major part of anyone's job, even if you work at Mackey's.
You
know what I mean?
You have to talk to someone.
Being able to talk to somebody, you never know what opportunity that the person you're talking to could give you if you just open your mouth. But yeah, it's a major part of the job, I would say. And over time, I've gotten better with it, and I feel like people have grown to understand me and know what I'm like. So if you know, once you begin to understand me, you'll fully get it.
Yeah.
You'll get why my sets are the way they are. You'll get why I am the way I am. And don't be wrong, I'm cool, I'm polite, I've got a great sense of humour, we can laugh along, but you're not going to see any joke man stuff. Like, and you know that you're going to see, there'll be no joke man antics. Like, that's where I
draw a line, understand?
That's where the line is drawn. Like, if you want joke man, buy somewhere else.
100%. So, in all this time, because you've got a degree, so you went to university.
Yeah.
where did all that tie into everything that you're doing? Because athletics is starting to boom, your DJ is starting to grow. Where do you slot in university and why?
So I feel like,
You're an academic?
yeah, once I left high school, the natural next step was college. Now, because of how things had been going in Manchester at the time, it wasn't good. Like, it wasn't, you know, kids are just like, nowadays there's a lot of stabbings.
Yeah.
Back then it was a lot of shootings, and it wasn't, I'm going to shoot you in the leg, it's I'm aiming for your head, like I'm aiming for your melon.
Got Manchester.
And because of the school I went to and the area that I lived in, I would often find people trying to affiliate me with one side or the other side, or I saw you with this person, or I saw you with that person. But then for me it was, well, that person's my best friend.
Yeah.
That guy's the guy that lives across the road.
I go to school with him.
I go to school with this guy, and them other guys are my cousins. What am I supposed to do? Like, not say hello when I see them, or not take a picture?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't want to go to college round the way with everybody and get sucked in. Like, that wasn't what I wanted at all. So I got really good GCSEs, and I managed to get myself a full bursary into a private grammar school, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Yeah, now you have to understand, like, it was a culture shock for them, and it was a culture shock for me. So it's the basic things. You know, I go in there one day, I've got braids, next day I've got an afro, and people
Can I touch your hair?
Can I touch your hair? But a lot of the time it wasn't, can I touch your hair? It was, your hand is already in my hair.
Yeah, and now
can I touch it?
Yeah.
And now it's a problem.
And you're like the minority. It's not like there's like 4 of you and 20 of them. It's like you.
And it wasn't just students, it was teachers too. Do you know what I mean? Or I'd get teachers like, you know,
Comments.
would I be considered cool if I had hair like yours and lived in Moss Side? And I'd be like, I don't even live in Moss Side. I live just outside of Didsby. What are you talking about?
Wow.
Like, come on now. Like, have a word. Do you know what I mean? I remember getting home one day, I think it got to like, college starts February. It got to like end of January exams. I got home one day, I said, Mum, I'm not going back. And she was okay with it, because I was never one to, I didn't bump off school, I didn't quit things, like, but she knew that it was doing my head in, and she was constantly getting called in for meetings, and then they had no answers when she would say, okay, but you've done this, that, and that, so why are you now surprised that my son is acting the way he is? So I left, and then I went to just a regular college, Severian, sixth form college. It was great. Way better options. So I picked up psychology, sociology, English, literature and language, and PE. PE was by far the hardest out of all of them.
Really? Just A level?
Yeah. A level, it was rough. Like, anyone that takes A level PE will understand, like, it's not a joke. Like, it's PE, it's biology, it's physics.
Yes, everything.
It's history, and that's not even accounting for the practical side. But at the time, it was like, okay, so I'm doing well in college, and the next thing everyone rams down your throat is uni. I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do? I like sociology, but I don't want to be a sociologist. They don't make dough.
Nah, at all.
So forget that. Like, I'll just be writing research papers for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't fancy doing some of the other lines of work that it can lead to. And then in your second year, you drop a subject. So I dropped English, so it was just psychology, PE, and sociology. And it was like, well, I really like psychology, and PE's always been my thing. Sports psychology.
Yeah, right.
Just
an
made
athlete
sense.
at the time.
And I'm an athlete at the time, so it was just like, it just literally made sense. My university experience, it was one of them. I went to Liverpool. Didn't really like the city, to be honest. Liverpool then wasn't Liverpool now.
Yeah, Liverpool is cracking now.
Yeah, Liverpool is on and popping now. Back then, not so much. So in the end, I just ended up commuting. Like I said to my mum, I was like, Mum, like, I'm not staying there. Like, I'm just gonna be home. I was getting the train up, and then drive up when I get a car. She was cool with that. Got my degree, did well.
What did you get your degree in?
Applied sports psychology.
Okay.
And then the plan was always to do my masters. And at the time, I was just like, after 0 to 22, it was just like, I don't want to do education for one more day. Like, I just need to breathe and find out what it is that I actually like who am I now?
And you're DJing and you're doing sports.
And I'm DJing and I'm doing sports. So it's not like I'm sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's just I needed time to breathe and crack on with what I wanted to do. But then I got to 28, and I was like, right, you need to start thinking about long term, what do you want to do, something with longevity. Time to go do your masters, mate. Applied the first time, got knocked back. They were just like, nah, we need more from you, we need this, we need that. Went away for a year, did what I needed to do, got all my ducks in a row, came back. Yes, Mr. Stevens, we're happy to take you on.
For people that are interested in higher education, like higher education, what is like the process in terms of like getting your ducks in a row? What do they want from you? Because everyone's talking about get a degree, but then that next step, like what's even a little bit of that like?
Okay, so my initial degree was in applied sports psychology, and then I applied for clinical psychology and applied practice to basically be a clinical psychologist.
What is a clinical psychologist?
Clinical psychology, for the people that don't know, is you have depression, you go and see a psychologist. I can diagnose the depression and we find ways to work through it, or it may be anxiety or something else. We sit there, it's like counselling, therapy, and we go through it.
It's different to a psychiatrist who prescribes medication.
Completely different. To be a psychiatrist, you basically have to be a doctorate, GP, then you go on. What I would say for higher education, it's not necessarily a case of what you have on paper, it's what value will you add
to the
university and to clients in years to come. So the first time I applied, it was, hi MMU, I have this and this, and I have this experience, please let me on the course. No, because I hadn't clearly outlined what I can add to the course, what I can add to the other people on the course, and my vision going forward to help the field of psychology as a whole and myself. The second time in that year, so much had happened to me that I actually really understood the assignment as such.
It wasn't the right time.
Wasn't the right time at all. And then it was a case of, okay, here's how I can add value. Here's how I can add value to the lecturers, to staff, to other students, and to prospective clients or patients, depending on how you want to refer to them. And they took me straight on. I didn't need to have an interview. There was none of that. They were just like, you are the perfect candidate for the course. At the time, I was working at a pupil referral unit. And that's, for anyone that doesn't know, that's working with students between year 7 and 11 that have been kicked out of school permanently, but obviously they still need to be educated, so they come to us. And through that, like the experience that I gained through that job was massive, not only through the students, but through the staff. And listen, some of these kids have had it hard, like, you'd be going through particular sessions with them and you're trying to hold it together, and afterwards you're just like, how the hell has this 14-year-old girl gone through that or turned up to school every day?
You have a little bit of a better understanding of
Massively.
just them and their behaviour, and then you start catching yourself outside of work, listening to people talk about these kids, they're so bad, and you're like, no. Some of the things these kids have gone through, I'm just happy they even just leave the house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. You will come across certain people on this planet that are just bad apples for no reason.
Yeah, 100%.
But they are very few and far between. The vast majority, something has happened, something is going on, and it just takes the right person to unearth that, work through it, and help them understand how to better deal with the experiences that they've had. And that job, along with some of the staff that I worked with at that job were absolutely incredible, like unbelievable. Some have gone on to one's gone on to be an art therapist, another one's gone on to set up his own provision. People are doing like great things, and working in that job is, I'd probably say, the main reason why I got onto the course, and it massively equipped me.
So you was doing that course, you was doing that job leading up to the course, and then you spoke a little bit about them experiences and stuff,
Yeah.
and that helped. Okay.
Yeah, massively. So once I'd left uni, I was out of uni for like a year. When I finished uni, I wasn't working for like a year as such. I was DJing and training and stuff, and then I started working that job. Worked that job for 5 years, and it just massively helped me with sharpening my tools. And I knew that I would get to a point where I felt like I had no more to give, and I also had no more to learn, and that I would need to go into something else. And that's when it was like, okay, it's time to go and do your masters now, mate.
Definitely, that makes sense. So how was your masters? How is
Tough.
your masters?
It's tough. It's very tough. But it was never going to be easy, especially after having such a long layoff between my undergrad to doing postgrad. But that's why you've got personal tutors. That's why you've got people on your course that can help. And for any problem that you have, there is a book or a paper with the answers that you need. It's honest. It's that simple. The answers are there. You know, before I ask for help, I will sooner see if I can help myself. And if I can't, then you go and ask for help.
Yeah. So, in this time, are you still training? Are you still DJing part-time, full-time? Obviously, in that 5-year span, you're working full-time as well. You've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
Now you're doing your masters on top. What's going through your mind mentally? Are you thinking, I need to drop some stuff off?
Yeah.
What do I drop off the stuff?
Yeah.
What
So
to focus on?
to put it into a timeline, so athletics has always been a constant, but from 23 to 28, I was just constantly injured. I had a labral tear, which was horrible. I could basically just feel bone on bone, like the cartilage had completely worn away. So it was just stop-start of training. I never stopped as such, but I couldn't necessarily compete or string together a good few months. Throughout that period, I was working and DJing. So things were busy, but DJing was like a Friday, Saturday thing, so it wasn't as hectic as it is now. It was a lot more manageable, but once I got to the end of my tenure with work, it was like, okay, DJing's really taking off. I want to do my masters and focus on higher education because I need something to play the long game with. And my coaching business was going exceptionally well, and is going exceptionally well. So the day job had to go, and it just came to a point where it was like, the other things that you're doing are paying you better than your day job, and your day job is actually taking up the majority of your time.
So it doesn't actually make sense.
So what's the point?
Yeah.
And it would get to and it was getting to a point where my managers would just say, "You're actually too good for this job. Like, you need to go." And I knew that myself, but often
Would you talk yourself out of doing it? Or?
I would talk myself out of doing it because with the job, especially with COVID, it gives you that safety blanket, and it gave me that safety blanket. And at the time, I was very fortunate because there was a lot of people that I knew that solely DJ'd or solely coached.
Work.
Nothing. and applying for grants and loans and everything else got technical, very, very, very techy. So I was grateful for that, but it became a time where it just had to go. And once it had gone, I found a new coach, and we worked on a plan to get me back in shape to be able to actually train. And we did that. And then from there, everything kind of just blossomed and continued to grow. I then went back to a coach I had a few years previously, who's got a great group in there. There's like 2 World Youth Championships, God knows how many British record holders.
Not a competition you want to have.
Yeah, and that's the kind of competition that you would want to have
When you're healthy.
when you're healthy. When you're not healthy, you can't do that, because the competitive side in you will say, I'm not going to let these guys run away and come in a time that's 2 seconds slower, because like I said earlier, I'm not here to come second. Like, it hurts. So if I'm going to go through the pain of training, I want to come first. Like, it's so simple. So then it became a thing of, right, okay, you're in education again, and you're doing tracks. It's like, what are you gonna target? So it was like, now I'm in the position where I am now, where I'm back in full training, my body's holding up. I've been to see a chiropractor, a paediatrician, and a physio. Shouts to the guy at Core Clinics in Warwick, by the way, he did a great job. And they basically said, this whole time, Marcel, you've had a leg discrepancy, and you're like, one leg's longer than the other. My left leg's like 3.5 to 4 inches longer than the right.
That's insane. You need to be adjusted.
Right. Which then explained why I was constantly breaking down. And they were like, well,
not aligned.
There's nothing, it would have happened as it happened, because there's nothing you can do, especially with the kind of force that you're generating and putting out. So then it was like, okay, so how do we weave everything together? So for me, I understand the pressures of sport on staff and on sports players, performers, people that do sport at a high level. It's crazy. So there's a few things that I wanted to do. Now that I'd had the job out of the way, DJing was going really well, so financially I'm very stable now. My business is going well. In terms of coaching and training is going well. It's like, okay, take this year to get your ducks in a row, really, really, really like get a good year of training under your belt. I'll be competing at the end of the season.
When's the end of the season? The
end of the season for me will be like July, August. Okay. Get a couple of, my times now are great, but if they're great now, what I could get by the end of the season will be frightening.
Yeah, 2 months.
Crazy. And then next curriculum year, I'll be going in for the British University Championships. Again, I'm not going there to come second, I want to come first. Albeit, that goes well. Then you've got the World Student Games. Go there, do my thing. That's a major accolade that then helps in terms of coaching.
Yep.
So when people are saying, okay, so you're a great coach, but like, what have you done? Like, where's your background?
Here you go. Everything I'm teaching you,
right,
I can do. I've done.
Right.
You're in a different level now.
Exactly.
To these other coaches.
Exactly. It puts me worlds apart. And then on top of that, if they then say, okay, well, what else have you got? Well, I've got a master's in clinical psychology, and I'm going to be applying for the doctorate. So in 4 years' time, I'll be Dr. Stevens of clinical psych. That is another service that I can offer.
Yeah. Now you're just picking and choosing where do I want.
Exactly. Now, what I find with a lot of my clients is every single one of them is able. Everybody can compete at a high level, but often what you find is mentally there are barriers.
Be great.
I've already got the physical side of it down. If I can then help you with the mental side, I can offer a complete package and then start producing complete athletes.
And that's half of
There
it.
you go.
Because a lot of athletes can do it. You ever see them athletes that can perform? As soon as you get on the track or on the court, where there's people now or there's cameras, they go within themselves. They lose all their confidence. They're looking at other people.
It's like if you'll get people in track, people will run a club meet, they'll smash it. They'll run a Diamond League race or an exhibition event, they'll smash it. And as soon as they put on an international vest and get to a final, falls apart.
Representing my country. Oh.
Right. Same in basketball, same in football, same in swimming. You see it all the time. A lot of the time, they're just mentally unprepared.
That's the thing. I think that's the thing that takes it to the next level. So obviously, I'm at England camp right now, and going away to like everyone's playing well, like in like small competitions against each other. But then when we're playing in Australia, in front of thousands of people on BBC, you know, everyone at home's watching and rooting. It's like they forget the plays, everything, the anxiety, everything's just going on, and I think that's the difference. It's not like they still haven't got the skill, but mentally, that's where it all stems from.
Yeah, massively. I think the media hype makes it a lot harder as well. And in the social media age, sometimes you're not allowed to just get on with your job. As a professional sports person,
It's something else.
It's something else. So you've got the media putting massive hope on you, and then your coaches are putting extra pressure on you, and then you feel like you can't make a mistake. So then you're playing tight. Now what?
Playing super safe.
You can't do that. You literally cannot do that. That's when you'll get caught lacking. Like, I just feel if a lot of people that did pro sport sought counselling or the help of a psychologist, sports psychologist, or even just spoke about
Just open. It's a conversation.
how they feel about things, they would understand that the stigma around mental health is just an invisible shackle that's holding you back from who you could really actually be. Because if your head is in the game but your body isn't, you can still perform.
But if it's the other way around, it's over.
If it's the other way around, it's a wrap. You could have done all the training, you could be primed and ready to go. But if your head isn't in it, the person whose head is in it and whose will is stronger than yours will win. You see it all the time. How many times have you seen it in boxing, for instance? One boxing meet. How many boxers were probably able to beat Tyson?
Skill-wise, but he's focused and mentally.
But they'd go in there and they'd brick it because, oh my God, that's Mike Tyson. Frank Bruno was one of the first people to visibly hurt Tyson. Visibly hurt him. Tyson took the knee and then stood back up. At that point, he should have said, I've got this.
This guy is human.
Right. But he didn't.
But there was that other guy who did beat him. He had that story about his mom.
Buster Douglas.
Buster
Douglas, his mom, for anyone that doesn't know, Buster Douglas's mum was telling everybody that her son is going to beat Tyson, and then she unfortunately died. So at that point, he had to then go and beat Tyson because his mum had told everybody that my son is going to beat Tyson.
And then what did he do?
He went and beat Tyson. He got in there and he said, no matter what, I'm not stopping.
Do it for my mom. That goes to show mentally where he was at. With that, with what you're talking about with like mentality and all of that, where was you at mentally when it was time to actually leave your job? Because I had it when I was working as the mental health worker. And it was like, do I do modelling full time? And modelling was literally like the amount of time spending at one compared to the other, it was like one was actually a waste of my time. I could do something else.
Yeah.
But it's not wanting to let go of one rope so you can put two hands on the other one.
Yeah.
Mentally, how hard was that? Did it take you time or?
It took me a long time, but then it became a greater risk to stay tighter in a bud than it would be to blossom and just fly. That's what it was for me. It was a greater risk for me to stay safe.
Did you speak to a lot of people about it, or did you like keep to yourself? Did you like think about it, put it on a back burner?
I spoke to a lot of my a lot of the people that worked on my team. I would consider like very close personal friends. Like we were literally in the trenches together. Like when things were bad in there, and we had a lot to deal with, we'd just stick together and we'd get through it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, like we were literally propping that whole place up a lot of the time. And don't be wrong, like we were rewarded for it, but it was us. And I would speak to them, and we would all kind of say the same things about each other, like we're too good for this place.
In a nice way.
In a nice way, and that we should all move on. And for me, again, it was much the same, and it was just like, well, I have all of these strings to my bow, but I'm only shooting one type of arrow. Why? Why am I sitting here wasting my time anymore? It got to a point where I wasn't even happy.
Yeah. Was you asking this to yourself?
I was asking myself. Like my managers then began to see it. It's not that I didn't care, but how many times can you complete the same game? When you're given Pokemon as a kid on your Game Boy, and you complete it once or twice, and you get all the little extra Pokemon and all the little secret levels and all. Do you know what I mean? How many times did you complete GTA? Couple times, and then it's like, all right, cool. Couple of seasons FIFA Ultimate Team, and it's like, I'm out.
Did you find yourself, because it was funny at my job, I was doing the same thing where I was like, guys, we're actually too good for this place in terms of you are a chef. You can have your own chef business because you're coming in with baked goods and meals that you can make money from, and that's your actual passion, to the point where you actually are starting to hate it here and you're depressed.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself having conversations with staff, encouraging them to leave and go do their own thing?
Oh, massively.
Meanwhile, you are kind of in the back of your own mind being like, you should kind of take your own advice.
Massively. It was me and there was another member of staff in particular. She got a place on an art therapy course a year and a half to 2 years before I'd first applied to do my master's. But when she did that, that was the beginning of the wake-up call for me.
Yeah.
And aside from that, there's a lot of friends that I've grown up with that just bet on themselves from early.
It's working.
And now they're millionaires. Like plain and simple. Like these guys just hustled, grafted, did what they needed to do, and now they're laughing. And they used to always say to me like, Marsh, you've got too many talents to be in this job, like
Playing small,
playing safe. What are you doing? If only I'd taken their advice.
Thing is, us lot all had that conversation because we even said to you at a time where we was like, bro, you're DJ Bear, you know, like what are you actually doing that for? It's okay if you're like, I'm doing it because I care about the kids and doing X, Y, Z. It's not about the money. And that's where I want to be. Then that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But if you're like, that's not actually where I want to be, it's actually not ticking enough boxes for you. You could just have more time putting into what you actually want to do.
Yeah, massively. And that, for me, that's where it came to. We got to a point in that job whereby, you know, I'm not saying I was too big for the job at all, but there was people better suited for the role
now at this point.
Because there wasn't any room for growth in there. So why would I stay if you're not giving me any prospects to grow? There was no, you know, extra courses. There was no CPD. There was no development past the point of where I was. So why am I here? I'd rather go my own way, and it's always been a major drive of mine to help people and to help people see what they can achieve for themselves, and for me to just give them the tools to do so. So, you know what? It's cool. Thank you, education. You've been good to me in terms of working in education. But I need to go and educate myself, come back and try and help people in my own way. And for me, sport's been a major part of my life, and it's helped me massively. With the other things that I do complement each other. So when I'm stressed and I'm feeling physically stressed, track really helps, and it helps bring me back down and helps me focus, because you have to be in tune with your body. Education has helped me massively understand myself from a mental standpoint, and to help me with the casualties of the dice game as such. And coaching is my way of giving back, and my way of really helping other people engineer their dreams.
How does that feel? Because you spoke about that a little bit at the beginning,
Crazy.
where you were like, I feel like a proud dad.
Crazy. So there are three people that I'll talk about. I'm not going to name them. I had them all from 14. The youngest one, normal kid, hard worker, grafts.
How old are they now?
18 and 20. So
you've had
two are 20, one's now 18.
You've had them for years.
I've had them for years. Youngest one, hard worker, worked his way up, and just continued to smash it. And now he's a beast. His team just won the FA Youth Cup.
Okay.
And they packed their opposition away. Completely packed them away. He's had numerous England call-ups. He gets called up to play for the age groups above him as the man, or one of the men behind the man. I couldn't be prouder of him. He's absolutely smashed it, and he's worked hard. And I said to him from the day I met him, look, I'm here, I'm a resource that you can use. The training is going to be tough, and at times you're going to hate me.
Facts.
Because I'm not going to take it easy on you, and I'm going to train you like you're a man. Because sooner or rather than later, you're going to have to play against men.
Yeah,
so I may as well get you ready from now.
Yeah. So by that time, you're comfy.
Exactly. Now look, absolutely smashing it. Another one of them, I had him when he was 15, and he was quick. I remember saying to him, so how fast are you in comparison to the rest of your teammates? He's like, I'm the quickest on my team.